Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Alhambra City Council. Thank you for having me tonight, and good evening, members of the public. My name is Beland Huang. I'm from the U.S. Census Bureau. I'm a partnership specialist serving LA County, and part of my job duties is to go around different cities and really help the public understand the importance of the census and what the 2020 census, what's new about it. Most of you who are here, you obviously work in the city, you're very active in the community here tonight at the city council meeting, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a refresher and introduce to you what's new. First off, I always like to remind everybody listening that the census is part of our Constitution. In fact, the very first census was held in 1790. It's been at the very foundation of our nation since the very beginning. But back then, it did take a lot longer to do the census. I think it would take years, to actually count the number of people living in the U.S. at that time. But now it literally will take you 10 minutes. But the important thing about the decennial census is that the data that we collect will be used in all sorts of different ways for the next 10 years. So from 2020, when we collect the data, 2020 to 2030, for the next 10 years of our lives, many things will be affected. And these are just some of the areas. Apportionment, that's talking about congressional seats in different states and redistricting of the voting districts that we were just talking about, the distribution of funds, and many other things. So to summarize why we do a census, why is this so important? Typically we talk about power and money. The power and representation, civil representation, like I said, all of our congressional seats are reapportioned based on population shifts. So if the certain state has gained more population in the last 10 years, then they might gain a seat in Congress or lose a seat, vice versa. And our state voting districts and lines are also changed based on census data. And the money portion, and this is the point where many people, their ears perk up, because there is $675 billion distributed annually. That's annual. That's not over 10 years. That's every year. There's $675 billion that directly and indirectly affect our lives. And some of that may be closer than we think. I know it's kind of small. You're not able to see everything, but I'll give you some examples. Our police departments, our public school districts, our nursing homes, preschool, public transportation, Medicare, Medi-Cal, Section 8, urban planning, businesses. If you own a business here in Alhambra, you probably have used census data to decide where to open up a new location, scientific research, and obviously now natural disasters and emergency response. That data, how we plan for all of that, is based on census information. So it's tremendously important. Just to give you an example, 10 years ago, in 2010, we undercounted children under 5 by 5%. Well, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that actually turned out to be 1 million kids, throughout the nation. And so what happened with that is many children who were 6 months in 2010, by 2018, they're 8 years old, and their public school hasn't had that portion of the funding because the population was undercounted. So that's just an example of why it's so important to reach out to some of these hard to count populations, and children under 5 is just one of them. Some of the other ones are speakers of different languages, seniors, the homeless, obviously, and many other segments of society. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're going out and reaching the public. A couple weeks ago, the Census Bureau launched a ad campaign nationwide, so you might start seeing some of these ads on your TV or listening to the radio or even on buses throughout our country. Another thing that's really important about the census is your answers are protected by law. So the census is very important, and it's very safe. The actual law is Title 13 of U.S. Code. So the Census Bureau, we like to say, is a one-way street. So the data only comes in, but it does not go out. We're not allowed to share the data with any other government agency. So immigration services, FBI, any police, law enforcement agency, they are not even the President of the United States is allowed to take any census data. And for the penalties for wrongful disclosure is 5 years imprisonment and a fine of $250,000. So every Census Bureau employee, including the folks that will come knock on your door in April, the enumerators, they have to be sworn into their positions, and including myself. We have to swear to not divulge any of this information. So it's very important we take confidentiality very seriously. So to talk about our third point is the census will be easier than ever. Talked about how in 1790 it takes years to respond, but here in 2020, we, for the first time in history, have the option to respond to the census questionnaire online. Any internet-connected device, you will be able to respond to that. In 2010, you have to fill out the paper questionnaire at home and send it back, but in 2020, starting in March 12th to 20th, that date range, every household in the United States, almost every household in the United States will receive a letter inviting you to go online to fill out the census questionnaire. And like I said, it only takes 10 minutes. One person in the house can fill out the questionnaire for everybody living at that address. There are 9 questions, ranging simply from your name, your date of birth, gender, no social security information, no financial information, just 9 questions, pretty simple and straightforward. The other 2 options to respond in addition to the internet is the phone service, where you can call and speak to a live person. And the internet and phone options of responding will have 12 non-English languages supported. So if English is not your first language, you can go on the internet portal and you can select one of the 12 non-English languages up top, and that'll switch the entire questionnaire so you'll be able to respond in whatever language you prefer. The phone as well. The phone also has 12 non-English languages available. You can talk to somebody in one of those languages. The paper form will be still mailed out. So the paper form that we're all used to from 2010, that will still be included in the 4th mailing. So what's going to happen is the first mailing will invite you to go online to fill out the census. The 2nd and 3rd mailing are postcards that kind of remind you and say, hey, it's not too late. Fill it out as soon as you can. And the 4th time, it'll be in the middle of April. It will be the actual paper form, which is available in English and Spanish. And it will say, well, it looks like you don't want to respond online. Please fill it out by paper. And by the end of April, if you still don't have your response, then that's when the census enumerators come in. That's when somebody from the Census Bureau will come visit you at your home, knock on your door, and ask you to fill out the census questionnaire in person. So those are the 4 ways to respond. Census Day is April 1st. That's the official Census Day. The entire nation will kind of celebrate that. But you will be able to respond starting March 12th to 20th, available online. And lastly, just wanted to mention we are hiring. We're hiring lots and lots of people. I've been going to different events, including events in the city of Alhambra. I'll be there at the Chinese New Year celebration this weekend. And we want the community to know that we are hiring thousands of people, especially if you speak a different language. Last I heard from our recruiting department, we still need people who speak Chinese. The Asian languages, we still are in need of folks that were willing to work with us. So all you need to do is, whether yourself or one of your friends or family, you can just go to 2020census.gov/jobs. That's the website right there. Or you can call, and you can apply online. It takes maybe about 20, 30 minutes, 32 questions. There is a background check involved after you submit the application, so I encourage you to apply as soon as you can. It does take a few weeks. The requirements are 18 and over, U.S. citizen, There was a memo that was sent out. If you're not a U.S. citizen, if you're a permanent resident of the United States, and you speak a different language other than English, you can work as an interpreter. But the position is prioritizing U.S. citizens. So you can work full-time, part-time. The part-time positions are the enumerators, like I said, the people who knock on the doors. You can work 20 hours a week, evenings or weekends. If you have a full-time job, you can still apply as an enumerator. You can work evenings and weekends and knock on people's doors and get paid over $20 an hour. So that's a good, flexible way of earning extra income. So go ahead to 2020census.gov/jobs. We are still taking lots of applications all the way till the end of February. And again, just to remind everybody, the census is coming in March, so that's about a month and a half. It's coming up really soon. It does only take 10 minutes, but it affects our lives for the next 10 years. It's easy. Just do it online. It's safe. We protect all the data, and it's important. Okay, thank you very much.